Hi guys, today we'll be talking about the oils that are necessary for making soaps on a budget, right? So to begin, versatile, and that is the coconut oil, right? The coconut oil is the basic oil that you'll need for most of your soap making needs. And I get my coconut oil from BJ's. I'll link the cost breakdown per soap ounce batch that you're making. For example, the cost that the coconut oil has an entire container. You break that down based on how much of it you're using per batch, and you'll get a clearer idea of how much you're actually spending on oils, right? The next one is olive oil. Olive oil. This comes in 2 packs from BJ's, and it's 48 ounces times 2, so that's 96 ounces. But the thing with olive oil is, if you're looking online for CP soap recipes, what you'll find is a lot of people use more olive oil than others. So if you are looking for a substitute for olive oil, I found that canola oil, let me get that in the frame for you guys. Canola oil works just as great as olive oil. The only difference, which is actually a benefit for canola oil, it's lighter colored. So if you're making natural soaps, your soaps will come out kind of like beige or off-white-ish, and you wouldn't have to add anything to the soap batter to whiten it up. The olive oil is more like a darker color, so your soap come out. Let me see if I can show you guys what I'm talking about. I only have the one that I made with the olive oil. The other one is still curing, so I'll add an image of comparison. But this is a soap that I made with olive oil, right? You see it has like a more tannish color. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'll get as close as I can. It's a very tan color. The canola oil would have a lighter hue to it. Give me a moment so I can put this on. Okay, next we would have sweet almond oil, which is also essential, but you can substitute it for another oil if it gets too expensive. But this one's very nice on the skin, so sweet almond oil. And then we have, I use grapeseed oil also. Palm oil, which you're going to need it. I try to add as little to it as I can because palm oil is known for helping with conditioning, cleansing, so it's essential. You're going to need it. And of course, the unbeatable castor oil, which I'll get into the breakdown of everything, but castor oil, I warn you now, you can't substitute it. So I try to use as little as possible because you cannot substitute castor oil. There's nothing like it. So invest. As you can see, I purchased a 32 ounce and I'm halfway there. And I've made maybe, I think I made 4 loaves of 42 ounce and maybe 6 or 8 loaves of the smaller, which I don't have, but I'll put a picture, the 22 ounce silicone mold. So it goes by fast. And then I actually incorporated this in my recipes, which is the Crisco Shortening. This one I got from BJ's. It is, if you can see, soybean with palm oil and citric acid. So it's, the reason I incorporate the Crisco is because it creates such a creamy lather. Like, it's so creamy. But there are drawbacks to Crisco, so I will get into that later. And then I always add a few drops of vitamin E just to enhance the soap. And then sunflower oil. And my basics to go to for essential oils which I did not pull it out. I like vanilla, but vanilla has vanillin in it, and we'll get into coloring later. But I like vanilla, and I love lavender when I'm making kids soaps for children, because lavender relaxes you and it helps you to fall asleep faster. So it makes a great soap for children. And of course, tea tree oil. This one is just a bottle I grabbed from my cabinet. It's something that I add to every oil because it has a lot of beneficial elements to it. It cleanses the skin, it disinfects, it does so much. So tea tree oil. And I believe those are all of the basic oils that we will be using. Every now and then you'll see me add probably avocado oil. The only reason I didn't put it as a list for the basics is because avocado oil is, some people have allergies to it. And for soaps that I make for family members that I know don't have allergies, I'll use corn oil. And I did not incorporate corn oil here also because of the allergies. And even with the sweet almond, we all know almonds are nuts. So if you're making soaps for family members or friends or people you don't know that well, always find out if there's an allergy. Because if there's an allergy to the sweet almond, my daughter, for example, she has allergies that I did not know of to sweet almond oil. And whenever she uses any of our products that I make at home on her skin, she breaks out in these little rashes or these little tiny little bumps on her skin. Now they go away once you give her a bath and you put something else on her skin, but that's how I found out that she had the allergy, because if I use something with sweet almond oil like the body butters, she'll break out in the little rashes. And if I use something without almond oil, she's fine. So that's how I kind of picked up on, whoa, she's one of the four of us that has an allergy to nuts. So her stuff that I make for her, I do not add almond oil, and it's important to ask people if they have allergies or not, so you know your products are not harming people. All right, let's get into the basics of the oils and why they're essential. We'll start with the almond. The sweet almond oil, I'll put it as close to the frame that I can so that while I'm talking, you can take your notes on it or do whatever you need to do. Give me a moment while I zoom closer. 1 second. I'm just going to zoom in so you can see the label and get a better view. Okay. I think that works. Sorry if the camera's shaking a bit. Okay. Sweet almond oil. It creates a stable lather. It's high in conditioning. And conditioning is very essential to soaps because, for example, we're not buying our soaps from the store. We're making natural soaps because we don't want all the additives that come from store-bought products, right? So you want your soaps to condition and nourish the skin. Sweet almond oil is very good on that. And sweet almond oil, if you have no allergies, also is great for dry and flaky skin. It will nourish and moisturize your skin and leave it smooth and beautiful. Now for sweet almond oil, I normally use anywhere from 5 to 10% of my total batch weight in oils. So I don't add too much, and I add just a little so you can get the benefits of it. Next, we have, and I think I zoomed in, but the label is lower, so I'll lean this back. Yeah, I'll lean it back a little. Hopefully nothing falls. Okay, I'm gonna bring the camera closer. If you can see, this canola oil is saying it's for cooking, but you can also use it for your soap. Now, canola oil is a soft oil, right? So you have to use it with harder oils like the Crisco or the coconut or the palm to make harder soaps. But canola oil is a good moisturizer, and if you get into the more artesian soaps with the swirls, the colors and all that fun stuff, canola oil is beautiful for that because it traces slowly. And also, because it traces slowly, you can take your time and do what you want to do and really mix your colors and get your designs going. I use on average 10 to 15% of canola oil in my recipes. And for example, if I'm using a recipe that does not require that much designs, I won't use the canola oil. I'll use the olive oil because the difference in tracing, if I don't need that much time, then I don't need the canola oil. The next we have is the castor oil. Like I told you, there is no substitute to castor oil. Castor oil is known for its bubble boosting abilities. If you want rich, fun bubbles, especially in kids' soaps, you want castor oil. And it's also a good moisturizer. And castor oil is used for so many different reasons. If you can see on the label, I'll read some of them. It softens and nourishes the skin. It is excellent for massaging joints and muscles. It's 100% vegan, non-GMO, and it's natural, so you can't go wrong with it, right? I use on average 4 to maybe 8% if I'm working on a soap that I want to really get the giggles going, get the bubbles going for kids. I'll use a higher amount, but for everyday soap using, I'll use maybe about 4%. The percentage is how bubbly you want your soap, in other words, right? Next, we have our trusty friend, the coconut oil. Coconut oil is pretty much one of the basics to soap making. You can't really get into soap making unless you get yourself some coconut oil. And the coconut oil, it's good for creating fluffy lathers, for conditioning, for cleansing. And on average, we will be using about 30% of our base, soap base, will be coconut oil. Now the Crisco, like I told you, I incorporated in my soaps. You do not have to, but I find that it's inexpensive because of the size that you use, and because we're using such small amounts, it lasts for a long time. The Crisco creates a quick and abundant lather, sorry guys, and it's moisturizing and conditioning. And on average, I mostly use it at a 2% rate. If I'm making a large loaf, I'll maybe use 4%, but for smaller batches, I'll use about 2% of the Crisco. The grapeseed oil, right? This one, remember I told you guys I got from BJ's. It's 68 fluid ounces, and grapeseed oil is good in soap. It's good for moisturizing, for conditioning, and on average, I'll use it at 5% of my total soap weight. Now, olive oil. Olive oil is great for creating bubbles, moisturizing, and hardening the soap. Olive oil will create a very hard soap, so use it sparingly if you don't want your soap to be too hard. It does take a little longer to cure, so you have to have patience when you're working with olive oil. But olive oil, you'll see if you look at recipes online or you look at other YouTube channels, people are using anywhere from 25 to 30% of their soap weight in olive oil. That's fine, but remember what I told you. If you're creating more fantastic designs in your soap, you want to substitute, if not all of the olive oil, maybe half of it with canola oil, so your trace can be slower and you have more time to work with your design. Palm oil. Palm oil is also a hardening oil. It cleanses, but it does not condition. And the key that I've learned with working with palm oil, you always melt it first before mixing it with your other oils, or else it will stay thick and you don't want that. Usually palm oil works great if you're using a basic recipe with maybe, let's say, 3 main oils and maybe a little bit of additives here and there. You can work with palm oil using coconut oil and olive oil. Those three with castor oil will create a wonderful soap. I'm going to zoom in because this is a very small bottle that I have. I'll zoom out so I can get it. Okay, sunflower oil, right? Sunflower oil is high in vitamin E. It's good for dry skin. However, it's slow in saponification. And you, just like with the olive oil, you want to have patience when you're working with sunflower oil. But either way, with the sunflower oil, we do not use that much in our recipes, maybe about 2 to 5%. So you don't even have to really stress yourself over that. Now, when I don't use sunflower oil, I'll add a few drops of the vitamin E and just help the soap be more nourishing to the skin and add more benefits to the skin. And that, outside of, you know, the essential oils, we all know why we use them. Outside of that, that's pretty much it. These are the oils we'll be working with. Let me zoom out so you can see all of them together again. And I'll list them below, of course, so you guys can find them where I find them, or you can actually buy them at lesser expensive vendors. So and I'll bring the camera up a little bit so you can get all of them. So that's all of them. That's going to be our trusty sidekicks when we're making soap. Depending if we're being more creative or if we're making more natural soaps, we'll be using either olive oil or canola oil. And I'll also make a video for, you know, like the most budget friendly soap that you can make, which will incorporate corn oil, canola oil, coconut oil, and all the other fun oils. So stay tuned, guys. I'll do my best at the end of the video to give you a more written version of the benefits of each oil. So if you want to take notes, you can. And we're going to go from there. We're going to start making soap soon. So see you guys soon. Take care.